Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. It's a special episode. I'm talking to one of my grandchildren, actually the third grandchild I've had on the podcast, Alex Croft. Alex, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
So we're sitting here around your fire pit without the fire in Robizonia, Pennsylvania, and you're just entering your senior year of high school.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
Your brother is an official high school graduate, which is really hard to believe. So, how does it feel to be going into your senior year?
Quite frankly, I'm kind of wrapping my head around it myself, especially with the past few years being the way they've been with COVID and all that. I kind of feel like, it's kind of been like the blink of an eye, as everybody would say it, but even more so because, I went halfway through my ninth grade year, and then, the pandemic hit and things got cut short, and now here I am going into my senior year, and it's been kind of weird to wrap my head around the fact is, things really speed up after a while, especially with something like that.
Yeah, when the world stopped, it definitely
Definitely sped up as it stopped.
Changed a lot of things, changed a lot of perspective. What was it like to make that initial adjustment from, seeing your friends every day in school, and then as you're kind of winding down the end of your school year there in March of 2020, everything comes to a halt, and you're.
Nobody could have really prepared for that, and honestly, as someone who was homeschooled a few years before, it actually wasn't that crazy of a change for me, but I saw a lot of my friends go through a lot of hardship trying to adjust to that at-home lifestyle. But after the pandemic and going into my 10th grade year of high school, I stayed virtual that year. So coming back this past 11th grade year, seeing everybody that I used to see every day and how much things have changed and all that, it's been a real reality check, kind of. You see things a lot differently. You kind of feel like it kind of wakes you up, and you see a lot how much change can actually occur with something like that.
Yeah. So you're active in sports. So that was one of the things that kind of got stripped away during that time, where now all of a sudden, team sports weren't happening. You're on track and field. You're in I guess your season had just started when that had happened.
Yep. We were about 2 weeks in, I'd say.
So how did that affect you, not being able to have those sports as an outlet for you?
Given that it was ninth grade, I hadn't really gotten into that yet, so it was something I could easily adjust to, as I could stay active in my around my house. I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of land to use, so that the sports didn't really, I'd say, have that much of an effect. But I definitely say going through these past years I feel like I've lost a lot of experience that I could have gained in those arenas, especially for track and field, I think. But sports weren't too bad.
Yeah. So you talked about how you guys have a lot of land here. Got like 3 acres, beautiful property. You kind of are the resident gardener. You actually study horticulture at BCTC, Berks Career and Technology Center. What is it that gave you an interest in plants and growing things? And again, you've pretty much become the one that handles the garden here at home. So, where did that interest come from? And then we'll talk a little bit about what you're actually growing out there.
Well, growing up, my interests have jumped around a lot, and I went from birds to trees, stuff like that, and I hit just growing plants, and that just kind of stuck with me. These things would come and go, but plants is always something I enjoyed. I'd go outside, find a plant, plant it, watch it grow, and I came to realize that I enjoyed watching a plant go from something, it could be so small like a seedling or a seed, and watch it grow and flourish. It could produce food for you. It could, it's just it kind of it stuck with me. So I've built my knowledge in that over the years as I've gained experience, and I like you said, I go to school for horticulture. I study it, and I've come to find an interest in the business side of things, selling plants, and kind of sharing that interest with the world. Kind of is seeing just how much potential plants and stuff like that have. And I've met a lot of people who they pick up a plant someday, and like my Aunt Amber for example, she started planting a little bit of stuff, and now me and her really we're always talking about it when she comes over, and she's just intrigued by it. And I come to see that, I think it's like a hidden interest that people don't really see until they try it someday. Kind of like I said, I pick up a plant someday, and you're attached. So I think I really like the idea of sharing that interest with the world. And plants are the future. They've been here since the beginning of time. Everything practically, they have so much with them that I'm losing my train of thought here. There's just a lot. They have a lot of potential. So I think a lot of knowledge and growth, and I'm definitely seeing the industry grow. So I think it's definitely a good future for people. It's definitely it clears the mind, stuff like that. So
being out there in the dirt in the garden sounds like it's almost therapeutic for you.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm ever having a rough day, I go outside, start, get my hands dirty, stuff like that, and it's just really, it gives you some time to think stuff through as you're focusing on what you want to do, stuff like that. And as you're it just gives you something to get you out of the house and just go outside. It really helps to clear the mind, I'd say.
Yeah. And what's the feeling, specifically with the garden and growing your own food? When you go to harvest that, and you're sitting down at the table and eating a pepper or a tomato,
Mm-hmm.
And really understanding that you grew that.
Oh yeah, it's really, it's like an accomplishment almost. Seeing that it saves you on groceries, stuff like that, and it just it's knowing that you put your hard work and effort into this, and now here it is. Most of the time it's amazingly delicious. So it's just cool to see it going from one, you put your effort into it, and then here it is, you're reaping the benefits of your labor.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And like you said, it is very good. I mean, we've had some vegetables out of your garden, and I think there is, like you said, a certain sense of accomplishment knowing that you were out there working the dirt, you're watering it, you're nurturing it. Before you even planted the seed, you had to make sure the soil
Mm-hmm.
was proper and ready, and would be able to harvest the fruit. So it's pretty cool that you have that interest, and wanting to get outside. I mean, I think the more we get outside, the better life we can live, for sure. And getting in the dirt and being able to you know, remain grounded in that sense, I think is so important. There's not a lot of kids your age who really appreciate that. So where do you think your appreciation of it came from initially?
I mean, growing up, my parents have encouraged me to go outside, explore the world. Um, Moving here, my mom would take me to a lot of gardens around, uh, like places like estates that were turned into gardens. One of my favorites, Conestoga Gardens around here. Um, and just, I found that, it's nice. It's peaceful being outside rather than in the house or out. The world tends to get a little overwhelming at times. So I think I found that sense of calm and security in, the fact that it's basically it's your own little thing, and you can do whatever you want with it, grow it how you want to grow it. Every plant is different. So I think I found that I really enjoy that, and I like that way of things. Is that it's like a free it's like a freedom from things that things around.
Yeah, I mean most 16, 17-year-old kids, they're in the house playing video games. You know, doing that sort of thing. So for you to get out and understand and appreciate the outdoors, I think that's really important. In addition to just the gardening and your interest in plants, and you also have an interest in getting out. I know a lot of times when we're staying here, we'll go up. You got a trail back here behind the house, and we'll hike a little bit. What is it that you enjoy about just being out there and walking in nature as well?
Um, Really, I'd bring back that sense of calm, peace. You got it's like white noise. You hear the wind in the trees, stuff like that. I've come across all types of wildlife out there. You sit and watch a bird just like peck around in the dirt a little bit, and you just gets you to notice the little things, which that's something you've taught me is always, uh, keep those things in mind. So that's just I like to go outside and look around at those types of things and kind of just see the world for what it really is and its true beauty. And that's what I like about going outside and exploring, hiking, stuff like that. Um, yeah.
Cool. I love that. Um, so as we said, we're going into your senior year of high school. After that, the whole world opens up to you beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
You said you'd like to go into business somehow, running a greenhouse, something to do with plants. You know, what is it that really makes you want to be involved with plants as a vocation once you're done with school, as opposed to just a hobby?
I'd say that I bring back that I said earlier, sharing that interest with the world is kind of what I'd say. Is if I could if I could grow these plants, bring some people in, they'll ask me questions, stuff like that, and I can kind of share my knowledge. I can gain knowledge from people, and it's just like I'd be doing something I love, and that's what that's what I want to do. Is this is something that I could be happy in. So definitely following that into the outside world, being my my I don't know how to put it, my rock, I'd say, is something I know that I've done for years, and I'm passionate about it, and I think um, bringing that into the outside world with me, that would be in my best interest.
Well, I think it's so important to be able to go into a career that you're passionate about. I think far too many young people just decide they're going to, you know, join the workforce and not really have a clear vision or a clear plan as far as what they really want to do, or a lot of kids don't think that society kind of puts us in this box that you've got to do this, you got to go out, you got to earn a living, you got to make money, which is all true, but you can also really love what you do as well. Obviously I was fortunate enough for 30 years to really be able to be passionate about something, and working in a field that I truly loved, working with kids and sports. And I just think it's so important for kids to really understand that you don't have to immediately go into a 4-year school and put yourself in that sort of debt, that you can perhaps take a year off and go travel and find find mentors. I think your best teaching in any field is to find someone in that field and learn from them. And I think you'd be surprised how many people are out there who are willing to share their knowledge with you. And I think the fact that you're working with your other grandfather this summer as well, who's very, very business savvy, has had a successful garage and now a successful alpaca farm and all kinds of things. I think being in that atmosphere and kind of being a sponge and understanding and learning from him, as far as the mistakes that are going to be made, that you just move on from and learn from, as opposed to get hung up on them. I think that's very important. So I as you're going into that and doing some work with your grandfather, what are some of the things look, obviously you're there to make a little bit of money, be able to take your girlfriend out to dinner and the movies every once in a while. But beyond that, what are one of the, some of the things that you're really looking to learn through that experience?
Definitely the way he runs his business. As a business owner, I'd hope to learn some of that, and also just some basic life skills. My dad worked for him for a while, and I've seen him, anytime our car breaks down, something needs fixed, he's there, he's got it, it's done. So I've kind of just I really kind of want to gain that experience too. I want to be able to know how to work on stuff like that without looking. I like learning things. So I definitely like knowing how to do a lot of things. So that's one of the reasons I went to work with him. And again, the way he runs his business, I've been there for 2 days, so it's still in the workings. But I've already noticed like his customer base and the people that he's met along the way, and they all know him, stuff like that. And it's just I like seeing how he has gone about this through the past however many years he's had this business, and I'm hoping to learn how I can do that myself.
Yeah, I think for him it's really being able to build a business around honesty and taking care of his customers, and doing the right thing for his customers, and not necessarily there's a lot of mechanics out there who have a reputation of trying to sell their customers something they don't necessarily need, and kind of taking advantage of the ignorance per se of their customer base and that sort of thing. And your grandfather is definitely not that type of business person. I think that's one of the reasons why he's been so successful for as long as he has. So if you can learn some of those traits and be able to carry them on into whatever you decide to do in the plant horticulture industry there, I think it'll be a huge asset for you for sure. So we're just about out of time, but anything that you'd want to talk about that we haven't covered?
Nothing off the top of my head. I mean, I want to ask you, what's your, you've been out traveling the world, you've seen places for the past, what's it been, 2 years, I'd say, just about.
Yep.
I just wanted to ask you, what advice could you pass on to me about, getting out there and seeing things?
It's really just go see the world. Take the time to meet people, talk to people that don't necessarily look like you, may not think like you. And I think you'll really be able to get an appreciation of the good that is out there in the world. I mean, unfortunately, we live in a society where, we love talking about the bad and dwelling on the bad. But if there's one thing I think your grandmother and I have been able to discover on this journey that we're on, is that there are so many incredibly good people out there. And again, people who want to help you, people who would love to teach you something that they taught along the way. I did a podcast with one of our fellow volunteers who's a retired general contractor. We've done 3 projects with him, Orrin Fadler, and he just loves, teaching people how to do things. I mean, you know me as good as anyone. I'm not like your other grandfather, where I can build something, or I can show you how to throw a curveball, teach you how to hit a curveball, teach you how to feel a ground ball properly. But when it comes to building stuff, just was not my forte. And working side by side with him, and building water flumes and rebuilding decks and tearing stuff down, it's amazing. And he loves sharing that knowledge. And I think that's really one of the things with the RV community, is that they love sharing their knowledge and their life lessons with people. I mean, we had some young kids on the one project that we did in Louisiana, a 14-year-old who Barrett Hollifield, who I did a podcast with as well. And to hear him talk about what he gets out of being around those people. I mean, you've got retired military, you've got retired NASA engineers, you've got retired contractors, entrepreneurs, business owners, and they all just love sharing that knowledge. So I think as you're looking at what you want to do, I think it would do you a world of good to be able to, after high school, not necessarily jump into, the next thing, whether it's the next level of education. You could learn an incredible amount by just getting out there on the road for a little bit and meeting people. Again, as you know, I'm not the most outgoing person in the world. I'm very introverted. But when you get in that RV community, I've actually found myself to become much more of an extrovert, because you immediately have things in common with these people. They love nature. They, appreciate the incredible land that God's given us. And it's just a different outlook. So I think there's a ton of education that can be had out there on the road, for sure. So I would encourage all young people to, perhaps between their senior year of high school and their freshman year of college, to maybe not jump right into it and take a year to figure it out. And whether it's just working odd jobs and understanding, I mean, there's no rush. At 18 years old, there's no rush to jump in and expect to know what you're going to want to do for the next 60 years of your life. I mean, it's incredibly unrealistic. And with the amount of debt that is tied to some of those decisions, it even makes more sense to again, maybe take a year off and not take a year off and just sit around and play video games, but take a year off and learn.
Take a step back, see where you really see the path you want to take.
Exactly. I mean, there's so much knowledge that can be gained outside of a textbook, and by getting out there in the world and meeting people, and again, understanding people's different perspectives and all the things that they have to offer, and they're all very willing to offer that up. And I think most people don't really understand that until you experience it. I mean, I know I would have never really understood it without experiencing it myself. And every RVer that we meet, it's the same story. The RV community is just such an incredibly giving community, caring community, and just salt to the earth people, for lack of a better term, without a doubt. So I think that's one of the reasons why my mom did what she did, and I guess eventually it was bound to happen to me as well, even though I would have never guessed it a couple years ago. So but I appreciate that. I appreciate kind of turning the tables and interviewing me for a second. So I do ask all my guests the same final question, and the subtitle of the podcast is "Many Little People in Many Little Places," which comes from the opening lyrics of the Michael Franti song "Gloria," which go, "When many little people in many little places do many little things, then the whole world changes." So what's one of the little things that Alex does on a daily basis to make the world a little bit better place?
Let's see. Definitely, I always try to be the nicest person that I could be to anybody, no matter who they are, what you think of them, stuff like that. I'm sure a lot of people have heard this. You never know what somebody's going through in their life. So one thing is just be kind to everybody. That's what I try to be, as positive as I can be most of the time. I can be that person that, hopefully maybe I can make someone smile in a day. And that's just one thing I always try to go by is everybody deserves kindness. So.
No, I love that. And I love that. I think that's a great perspective. The 14-year-old that I told you about, when I interviewed him, his answer was a smile and a wave. Like, that's the one thing he does on a daily basis, is just give a smile and a wave, and it's amazing how that can brighten somebody's day, because like you said, you never know what they're going through. So Alex, I appreciate you taking the time. I wish you the best of luck in your future. I'm sure regardless of what you decide to do, you're going to be successful at it, no matter what that decision is. And I do stress to you to, take your time and figure it out. And also understand that you can change your mind too. You can do something and decide, you know what, you're going to do something else, and that's perfectly okay as well. So again, appreciate the time. I know you're a little nervous about doing this, but you did a fine job. And for people out there listening, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at danclouser.com, and be sure to go to Amazon, pick up a copy of my latest book, The Journey of My Mother's Son, Volume 1, or The Beauty of a Diamond Through the Eyes of a Coach. And if you're interested in autographed copies, you can find them on my website, again, danclouser.com. Alex, thanks again for taking the time.